All right, so working with cell reference. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain what a cell reference is. You should be able to identify the address of any cell. You should be able to understand why Excel uses cell references. You should be able to explain the four types of cell references. You should be able to differentiate between relative, absolute, and mixed reference. You should be able to apply the correct reference type in spreadsheet calculations. So, what's a cell reference? A cell reference is the address of a cell. Excel uses this address to locate data inside the worksheet. Instead of remembering the value, Excel remembers the address, the specific address instead of the value. An example of a static versus dynamic formulas. So, a static formula, an example of a static formula is equals to 70 plus 80. While an example of dynamic formula is equals to B2 plus C2. So static formulas require editing, while dynamic formulas update automatically. Now, why cell references matter? Cell references helps to save time, it helps to reduce error, it helps to improve automation, it helps to make formulas reusable, it helps to make spreadsheets dynamic. What are the types of cell references? There are three types of cell references, and these are: one, relative reference. The next one is absolute reference, then mixed reference. Each serves a different purpose. What are relative reference? Relative reference changes automatically when copied. It is Excel's default reference type. An example of a relative reference is A1. Excel assumes if you copied this formula, you probably want to calculate the next row too. So example, equals to A2.B2. Copied down becomes A3 multiplied by 3. Yes, A3 multiplied by B3. So if you keep copying it down, it keep going down like that as A4, A5, A6, like that, keeps copying. So benefit of relative reference: it saves time, it doesn't have repetition, no repetitive typing, easy to copy formulas, it is used in reports, and it is used in score sheets. What are absolute reference? Absolute reference never change. They remain fixed wherever the formula is copied. They use the dollar sign for identification. Example, you have $A, $B. So this means this one now is an absolute reference. So given the absolute reference $A, $B, the first dollar locks column A and the second dollar locks row B. Therefore, both remain fixed. When do we use absolute reference? Examples of calculations that uses absolute reference include VAT rates, exchange rates, tax rates, commission rates, discount percentage. These values remain constant. Mixed reference. This is a situation where mixed reference. This is a situation when the cell reference is a mix of absolute and relative. That is, one of the row or column is fixed while the other changes. When the column is locked, we call it column fixed. Example are $A5, $B2. So now this dollar is coming in the alphabet part, which is the column part. So when the row is locked, we call it row fixed, which is $A2, B6. How mixed reference actually works? So given equals to $A1, when copied downward, it becomes equals to $A2 equals to $A3. Only the row changes. Only the row changes. So given equals to $A1 equals to $A1, when copied right, it becomes equals to B$1 equals to C$1. That is, the row is fixed and only the column changes. So keyboard shortcuts: press F4 while editing a formula. Excel cycles through A1, then $A$1, then A$1, then $A1, and then return again to A1. This shortcut saves time and is widely used by Excel professionals. For example, now when we pick this cell, this is the column D, and this is row 7. So the cell becomes D7. That is the address of the cell. So for example, now let's say we have 45 here. Sorry, we pick this cell, we have 45 here. So this is 45 here, right? So now if I want to call 45 here, 45, I can have 45 here, 45 here. This 45, sorry, I can have 45 here and still have 45 here. So these 245, they actually are 45s, right? So but I might not need this 45 and I need this particular 45. So if I say equals to this address now, D7, and I say okay, that means Excel will return whatever is in D7. That's what Excel returns here. So if this D7 now change to 32, automatically this one's changed to 32. If it changed to 76, automatically that place changed to 76. So that is what an Excel cell reference does. Now another thing is, we talked about static and dynamic formula. Now static formula, you have 70 comma 80, 70 plus 80, 70 plus 80, that's 150, right? So if I fill this now, everything is 150, and if you open it individually, you see what 70 plus 80, 70 plus 80, that's what it has, that's what it keeps showing. That's the formula is static. But look at, for example, let's say we have 70 here, we have 80 here, or better still, let's even, okay, so now we now say this is equals to C5 plus D5 equals to, you see, it returns the same 150, right? Because the C5 and D5 is 70 and 80. But when we scroll down here now, we see that the value being returned here is what? C6 plus D6, C7 plus D7, C8 plus D8, C9 plus D9. So as we feel that, the cell reference changes, because the cell feels that automatically, if what you did here, which picked C and D, is what you fill down, it means you are trying to say that for each row too, they should go and pick their respective C and D. All right, so cell reference helps us to save time, it helps us to reduce error, it helps us to improve automation, it helps us to make formulas reusable, and it helps us to make spreadsheet dynamic. So for cell reference, we have absolute reference. This is an example of an absolute reference. Then now another example, we talked about so now let's look at absolute reference. Let's look at absolute reference. So let's assume I have $A, $1 here, and A1 is let's say A1 is 8, A2 is 9, A3 is 8, A4 is 5, A this is 4. So now if I have this, adding my equal to sign, so now it becomes a formula, right? So I enter it, that means it returns what? 8. If I fill it, let's see what happens. So let's see what happens. You see, it returns 8 all through. Why? Because you putting that dollar sign has logged it, and that means that reference should be locked. So if I copy it from here and come and paste it here, it is still going to remain like that. Why? Because I've locked that particular reference. Do we understand that? Yeah. So now for that, we said we can lock one part and leave one part. So let's say we have $A1 now. If we call it $A1, that's this value, and this place is having, let's say, 6, 5. Okay, so let's say we have this value here. So now if I scroll this now, we'll see that the value that follows are the exact values here. Why? Because the A is locked, that's the column is locked, but the row can change. So that means when we are on row 1, it returns the same value as row 1. When we are on row 2, it returns the same value. So if I copy this now and come and paste it, or let me say, instead of doing that, let me say if I carry it now and fill it here, it remains the same. Why? Because on column, when you are filling to your column, you have locked it, you have locked the A, so you have locked it when it's filling to column. But if it's filling to row, it's free to pick values. You did not lock that one. So that is why the row value changes, but the column value does not change. And let's assume we now say the value of this place now equals to we now put our dollar sign in this place, $1. So what we are simply saying is that if we are changing it on the row wise, row is fixed, row wise is fixed, but column wise we change value. Column wise we change value. So we have 6, 4, 7, 8. That's the column wise value that will change, but the row is fixed. So whatever you are putting this, if you are putting it on in front of the row, that means you are fixing the row. If you are putting it in front of the column, it means you are fixing the colon. Yes, that is that on that. So the last thing we'll be looking at is the keyboard shortcuts. where the keyboard toggles. So we have equals to a1 equals to a1. So if I come here now and I press F4, so if you look at this now, you discover that this place, the value is changing. So A1, I press F4, it becomes $A$1. I press F4, it becomes $A$1. I press another F4, it becomes $A1. So it means the dollar sign makes it toggle. That's the shortcut. The dollar sign makes it toggle. So you can just look at it. What do you need? And you dollar sign it till you get to what you need. So we looked at, let's quickly look at some little examples. We've looked at some example earlier here. I think we've checked an example here. But look at this, for example. Let's say we have price. We have 60, we have 43, we have 54, we have 67, we have 34, we have 22, we have 24. So let's assume we have this price now, and we say whatever, let's say we have here that's discount. Discount is, let's say discount is 10%, 0.1 rather. Sorry, discount should be 0.1, right? So it means this place now equals to whatever is here, C3 multiplied by, yeah, right? But we cannot just leave that place like that. We have to do what? We lock it. So we introduce the dollar sign, right? So that when we fill it, it returns the value of multiplication of whatever is here multiplied by consistent 0.1. So if you look at it now, you see that when we drag it down, this one value is 43, and 10% discount is what? This is discount, Abby. Discount. So this is 5.4, 6.7. Then you can just say payable price here. So payable price becomes what? That will be equals to price minus the discount given, and we have this, right? So we fill it down and we have this. So with this now, we've done little projects using the absolute reference. So it's left for you to do your own practical, or your practical tasks.